Hi, I'm Rajat Kumar Sharma, your leadership, behavioral, and communication coach, and I welcome you to Catalyst Leadership. In our previous two episodes, we have discussed about the art and science of business storytelling, and today we are going to discuss in detail about the science of persuasion through business storytelling. Because in business, trust is not built on facts or information, it is built on emotions. And stories and narratives, they are the key to trigger right emotions at the right time in the right people that you want. So in the first episode, we discussed about the phenomena of neural coupling, something that was discovered in the Princeton University, that when you tell me a story or I tell you a story, our brains start to sync, the frequencies start to match, and the brains start to experience the story. And this is exactly what famous neuroeconomist Paul Zak discovered, that whenever our brain gets to listen to some relatable and trustworthy story, there is a release of cortisol in our body, which directly leads to better attention, and oxytocin, which leads to better trust. So telling right stories in the right manner can actually trigger right emotions in your audience. The best example that comes to my mind when we talk about right stories in the right manner with the right audience is from Airbnb. So there was a time when Airbnb as an organization, when it was a startup back then, it was struggling to actually persuade investors to invest in the organization because they look like another rental space business, and investors were not really impressed with their investor presentations, which were loaded with data and numbers and geographical locations. But then something happened within Airbnb founding team. They realized that we are just showing numbers and data and information, and there is no journey in what we are saying. And as a result of this realization, instead of selling the story of renting rooms or renting spaces, they started to tell the story of belonging anywhere in the world, wherein they highlighted real hosts, real travelers, real human experiences. And as a result of it, their narrative from our business model, it shifted to the future of human travel. And that's where Airbnb got investments from their investors. Because now they were not investing in a rental business. They were investing in the future of human travel, which ultimately happened, which ultimately Airbnb did as an organization. So here is what you must understand as a business leader, that stories persuade because they activate four key psychological triggers: relatability, tension, transformation, and meaning. Let's start with the first one, relatability. Where am I in this story? What's in it for me? If you can answer these questions, what we discussed in our last video as well, the context setting, you have got my complete attention with yourself. Second, tension, the pain area, the problem, the conflict. So if there is no conflict, there is no reason I should listen to you. But if you establish the conflict right, the pain area right, then again, I'm interested to know how exactly this tension would get resolved. So, tension is the struggle, it's the conflict, the pain area. Without tension, any business story is just a plain report. Then comes the third psychological trigger, transformation, the before after story. What was the situation earlier and where we are now? What was happening earlier? What is happening now? This is what influences people the most. The Airbnb example, right now, the human travel is in this shape and we want to take it or upgrade it to this form. This is what transformation signifies, because transformation signals value. And finally, the last psychological trigger, meaning. Human mind, human brain, it's not a logic processing machine, it's a meaning making machine. So if there is a larger purpose attached to your story, you have got your audience forever. They would never forget you. But if the overall meaning is very much limited to just your team or just to your individual achievement, then it doesn't make that much sense. So, what is the larger purpose in what you are doing? What is it that they can relate to forever? This is where the importance of this final psychological trigger, meaning, comes into picture. Because humans, they do not invest in specifications or features. They invest in meaning. So I would want to conclude for today with this powerful thought for you. That if you want people to understand you, give them logic. If you want people to believe you, give them proof. But if you want people to move for you, change for you, give them a story. A story that is true, that is relatable, that speaks of transformation. And they would never leave your side. In our next episode, we would talk about the power of stories in leadership, sales, and influence roles in specific. Because there are few more elements to business storytelling that I would want to discuss with you personally in that episode. So till then, stay tuned.